They met because of a professor who believed in collaborative chaos. Professor Delaney announced it on a Tuesday morning, right after a pop quiz that nobody was prepared for, and everybody failed with dignity. Group project, she said, smiling like she had just invented suffering. Pairs, you'll choose your own partners. There was a brief, awkward silence, the kind that always happens when a room full of college students pretends not to notice each other. Lena Ortiz looked up from her notebook, twirling her pen. She was a junior, organized to a fault, and already had 3 color-coded tabs for a project that hadn't even been assigned yet. Across the room, Noah Bennett leaned back in his chair, balancing it dangerously on 2 legs, as if gravity were more of a suggestion than a rule. He was the kind of guy who somehow did well without ever seeming to try, which Lena found deeply suspicious. Their eyes met for half a second. They both immediately looked away. 5 minutes later, they were partners. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even intentional. Noah had tried to team up with his friend Jackson, who had mysteriously already promised someone else. They both turned around at the same time, saw each other standing there with that same, well, this is happening expression, and shrugged. Partners? Noah asked. Partners, Lena agreed. That was how it started. Less like fate, more like administrative necessity. The project was about local traditions and cultural events. Something about documenting community rituals and presenting their significance. Lena immediately took charge, opening a fresh Google Doc titled COM 312, Cultural Traditions Project, Final. You like planning, don't you? Noah asked, watching her type. I like passing, she said. Fair. They met at the library that afternoon. Lena came with notes, outlines, and a list of potential topics. Noah came with a coffee and no pen. You didn't bring anything? She asked. I brought enthusiasm, he said, taking a sip. That's not helpful. It's emotionally supportive. Despite herself, Lena smiled. They started throwing out ideas, festivals, parades, county fairs. Everything felt either too boring or too overdone. Then Lena paused. What about the Calaveras County Jumping Frog Jubilee? She said. Noah blinked. The what? The frog jumping contest, she said. It's a real thing. Inspired by Mark Twain. People bring frogs, train them, and compete to see whose frog jumps the farthest. There was a beat of silence. You're kidding. I'm not. Noah leaned forward, suddenly interested. So, we're talking about competitive frogs? Yes. Like athletes? Amphibian athletes? Technically, yes. He grinned. That's incredible. We have to do that. Lena hesitated. It's kind of far. How far? A couple hours. Road trip, he said immediately. She raised an eyebrow. You're very enthusiastic about frogs. I didn't know I was until this moment. She laughed, really laughed this time, and something shifted, just slightly. Okay, she said, let's do it. The drive was on a Saturday morning. Noah showed up 10 minutes late in a car that made a concerning noise when it started. It's fine, he said, patting the dashboard. It only does that sometimes. That doesn't make it better. It builds character. Whose? The car or me? Yes. Lena shook her head, but got in anyway. The first half hour was a little awkward. Small talk, radio flipping, mutual awareness of being alone together for the first time outside of class. Then Noah took a wrong turn. Wait, Lena said, looking at her phone. You were supposed to stay on that road. I thought it was a shortcut. It's not a shortcut, it's a farm. They passed a field of goats who stared at them like judgmental spectators. Okay, Noah admitted, maybe it's not a shortcut. Maybe, definitely not a shortcut. Lena sighed, but she was smiling. They turned around, laughing, and somehow the awkwardness disappeared. They talked about everything after that. Majors, families, weird childhood stories. Lena confessed she once organized her books alphabetically and by color. Noah admitted he once tried to train his dog to bring him snacks and accidentally trained it to steal socks instead. Honestly, Lena said, that's still kind of impressive. Thank you. I consider it my greatest failure. By the time they reached Calaveras County, it didn't feel like a class project anymore. It felt like something else. The frog jumping contest was chaos. There were booths, crowds, music, and an alarming number of people holding frogs like they were prized possessions. Lena stared, wide-eyed. This is bigger than I expected. Noah nodded solemnly. This is serious business. They watched as contestants placed their frogs on a small platform and encouraged them to jump. Some frogs leaped heroically. Others did not. One frog sat there, completely still, as its owner clapped and pleaded. "Come on, Pickles," the man shouted. "You trained for this." Pickles blinked. "That's going to be us," Noah said. "We're going to pick a frog, believe in it, and it's going to emotionally betray us." "We're not entering," Lena said. "We absolutely are entering." "Noah." "Lena," he said, putting a hand over his heart. "When will we ever have this opportunity again?" She hesitated. He leaned in slightly. "Don't you want to say you once competed in a frog jumping contest?" "I hate that you're making a good argument." "Thank you." 10 minutes later, they had a frog. They named him Sir Hopsworth, because he deserves dignity, Noah said. Sir Hopsworth did not look particularly dignified. He looked mildly confused. They placed him on the platform. "Okay," Lena said, crouching down. "How do we make him jump?" "I think we encourage him." They clapped. Sir Hopsworth did nothing. They tried again. Nothing. Noah leaned closer. "Listen, Sir Hopsworth, this is your moment." The frog stared into the middle distance. A small crowd began to gather. "This is not happening," Lena muttered. "Maybe he needs motivation," Noah said. "What kind of motivation?" "I don't know. Emotional support? A pep talk?" "You give him a pep talk." Noah cleared his throat. "Sir Hopsworth, you are capable of greatness." The frog suddenly jumped, not forward, directly at Noah. It landed squarely on his chest. There was a collective gasp, followed by laughter. Noah froze. Okay, we're good. This is fine." Lena doubled over, laughing so hard she could barely breathe. Sir Hopsworth, apparently satisfied, jumped off Noah and wandered away. "Wait," Noah said, "that's our frog." They chased it, through the crowd, past booths, around a very confused family holding cotton candy. At one point, Noah tripped over a hay bale and nearly took Lena down with him. She grabbed his arm, and for a second, they were both just there, close, breathless, laughing. Then the frog escaped again. "Focus," Lena said, still laughing. "Right. Frog. Important." They finally caught Sir Hopsworth near a lemonade stand. He had not won the contest. In fact, he had not technically competed. But as they stood there, slightly out of breath, hands still loosely holding on to each other, it didn't seem to matter. They sat on the grass afterward, sharing a funnel cake. "This was a disaster," Lena said. "The best disaster," Noah corrected. She nodded. "Yeah, the best." There was a comfortable silence. Then Noah said, a little more quietly, "I'm really glad you invited me." Lena looked at him. "I'm really glad you said yes." Another pause, but this one felt different, softer, warmer. Noah hesitated, then reached out, brushing a bit of powdered sugar off her cheek. "You had something," he said. "Thanks," she said, her voice just slightly unsteady. Neither of them pulled away. And then, like it had been building all day, without either of them fully realizing it, they leaned in. It wasn't dramatic, no music, no fireworks, just a simple, slightly awkward, very real first kiss. When they pulled back, Lena smiled. "So," she said, "partners?" Noah grinned. "Partners." Back in class a week later, they presented their project. It was thorough, well-organized, and unexpectedly hilarious, thanks mostly to the footage of Noah being attacked by Sir Hopsworth. The class loved it. Professor Delaney wiped a tear from her eye. "This is exactly what I was hoping for." After class, as they packed up their things, Lena turned to Noah. "Hey," she said casually, "there's another festival next month, something about Garley." Noah raised an eyebrow. "Are there competitive vegetables?" "I think so." He smiled. "Then obviously we have to go." She nodded, obviously. They walked out together, side by side, and that's how their love story began, with a group project and a frog named Sir Hopsworth. 3 months later, they went back to the frog jumping contest. This time they came prepared. They trained, they researched, they even built a tiny training course in Noah's backyard. They entered with a new frog. They named him Sir Hopsworth II. And in a stunning, historic turn of events, Sir Hopsworth II refused to jump. At all. Not once. He just sat there, perfectly still, for the entire competition. They came in last place, dead last. As they stood there holding their motionless frog and laughing so hard they could barely stand, Noah shook his head. "You know," he said, "I think we're cursed." Lena smiled, slipping her hand into his. "Maybe," she said, "but it's kind of a great curse." Sir Hopsworth too blinked, and still didn't move.